Ready to go work?
Fire and hole.
Fire in the hole. It is recording, and just so you can see me do this. Kidding. We will call the Grant County Drainage Board to order April 26th, noting that 4 of 5 members are present. Mr. Cox is absent today. All others are present. And first item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Cates, to approve minutes as, because were sent out on the 20th of April.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Goff. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those abstaining?
Aye.
Carried 3 to 1 abstention. And we will move on, start paying bills. First group, please, Jim.
Okay, Richard's not here today, so we'll go ahead and
Jim,
add
go on.
those two at the bottom.
Okay.
The big ones at the top. Redmond Excavating, $17,038, partial payment on new dueling of Barron, $63,000 in the fund. John's Repair Service, $5,900 on the Ludlam of Luger, $209,269 in the fund. John's Repair Service on Ludlam, $1,320 on the Ludlam of Luger Creek, and also $980 on the Ludlam of Luger Creek. Again, $209,000 in the fund. John's Repair Service, $1,280 on the Aaron Newby, $14,492 in the fund. Also, John's Repair Service, he's working with the County Highway Department out there on this. $717.50 on Aaron Newby. Chuck Sewer and Drain Cleaning, $1,500 of emergency repair on the Stobie Drain to be paid out of the General Drain Improvement Fund. Cook Excavating, $7,815 on Pipe Creek, $152,000 in the fund. That was removal of log jams on 5 different properties, starting at the county line, going back east. Nolan Holloway Farm, $388.66 on Cart Creek, $28,180 in the fund. Nolan Holloway Farm, $452.30 on Cart Creek. Drewy Simmons, $5,250 on Hummel Creek. And Christopher Burke, $2,088 on Hummel Creek.
Most of those John's Repair on that Luger, was that trees?
Yeah, I have a breakdown.
Just
One was the dredging and brushing and fixing the erosion. And, let's see. I got it. The bigger 5,900 was he dredged 3,434 feet and cleaned us 60 feet of culvert pipe. The other one was approximately got duplicates in here.
Yeah, go through the auditor's code.
Yeah. One was fixing erosion, $980 with a 12-inch galvanized pipe. And,
that's all right.
well, and the other two was clearing brush from the intersection of Ludlam and Tippy, 650 feet north. That was all for yeah, Amy Lozier.
You wanna make a motion, Gordon, or you want me to?
Make a motion to pay as claims as presented. I'll second.
Have a motion, Mr. Goff, second, Mr. Pinkerton, for the two sections of claims as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Abstaining, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. One more.
Matt Carey, $2,696 on the repair of the Powers drain tile, $55,184 in the fund. Also another location for Matt Carey on $300 on the Powers drain.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that one.
Motion, Mr. Cates, second, Mr. Pinkerton to approve the Powers drain claims. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. Abstaining?
Aye.
Carried 3-1 abstention, excuse me. All right, that covers all of our claims. Under old business, Little Crane Pond, still in the hands of attorneys, Hummel Creek. We can note that we have seen an obstruction moved, and our attorney is working to determine what our final cost factors are, trying to move us out of this particular litigation now. Question on Hummel Creek, discussion was already sparked. How soon do we move to do a public hearing and bring this ditch into a assessment role?
I could have it, we could have a hearing June 14th at the soonest.
That gives you time to do everything?
Raymond said the assessment roll's done, right? Yeah. Get my
It's
letter.
updated, everything?
Well, it was a year ago.
It would give me 2 weeks to get the notices out.
I hate to rush into it when we've got, even July would be better for me. As long as you two can do it.
Make it later, make it
Whatever
a
you guys
July
want.
one.
You know, as long as we're having it this year, and
It's not gonna
assessment goes on next spring, we're okay, so
Yeah,
let's pick a date in July that suits you.
I could
Get this
figure
second
something out again.
Either the 12th or the 26th.
make it the 26th, give them longer to look at it.
Yeah, I'd like for him to check the watershed. Raymond's a little better on the watershed than a lot of people have. I've looked at it, just
Okay.
make sure we're okay.
Now, when we say we're gonna have a public hearing, that is just to hear from the public. We're not advertising any type of,
No, I'm ready to set a maintenance on it,
oh, okay.
to have a public hearing for maintenance.
So he's ready to go ahead and talk about the numbers.
We're talking 30, 40
What?
dollars.
No, nobody, there's too much farm ground that, maybe you do wanna just send out notices to hear from the farmers, because
Start at 30, you can always come down.
that's just gonna be way too much money, Kenny.
So you have had feedback from the farmers and whether they're willing to pay this?
I know that
Sometimes
the
you
Hicks,
go-
at one time, we had a petition signed by Jerry Lozier, and he's gone, and
Something in writing.
Hicks,
Read at the,
and Martin Brankel.
Well, if it's not until the end of July, we've got time to figure out before we,
I could talk to some of them, see what they want to spend, but even, I was looking at maybe $5-10 an acre. It's all open ditch.
There are 3,000 acres in that watershed?
How many acres is it in that watershed?
Without looking at this.
I was thinking it's about 5. See, the problem is, there's a lot of log jams out there, and everybody on the ends, there's like 3 prongs that, there'll be tributaries, you know, they're wanting to dredge those out so the tiles work better, but you can't do that until you get us some money collected and go down and get these log jams out of the way. that are out there where nobody can see them.
Well, set it at 20, and you can always come down. But you can get down.
You'll get their attention, you said.
Yeah, it'll get their attention.
Let me talk to some of
They
them.
want to spend.
We could invite some of the bigger players to a meeting, and that'd just be a written request to come to talk about it before this public hearing notice goes out, 30 days before July.
We've got time to look into and determine what a good rate might be.
So if we made a decision on the second week or second meeting in May, if we had it, we could make a decision, we could,
We'd have plenty of time.
You can always come down, you know, and you don't want that much, well, that's where they are.
We just don't want them showing up.
Get too high to get this stuff turning and rolling,
We just don't want them showing up with
they can come back and reduce it.
There's 4,700 acres and
What's that?
162 home sites.
How many home
147.
sites?
4,700.
4693.
And how many home sites?
162 home sites.
Yeah, and you know, we've been looking at about $50 per home site for a 1 acre designated home site. That's about the average. That's what I'm paying. So I'd be good with that if the board wanted to go ahead and set that today. And then let me write a letter, invite some of the major players in that have the larger acreages as it's gonna really affect the outcome of this, and get them in here to talk about what their rate wants to be.
I really think that's smart. And again, after the discussion, whatever they're saying, they think is their high point, we advertise there and then we can come
We'll
down.
know how much money we're generating a year and how fast and serious they are on going after all this stuff. It's been neglected for years, so it's gonna have to be high, like Kenny says, in order to accomplish anything fast.
Well, if you get some money in the first year or two,
Mhm.
and then they want to reduce it, they can come in and
Right.
go for $5 or whatever.
But it's gonna take 2 or 3 years collection just to fix the creek, I bet.
All right, so our tentative game plan is sometime here in the month of May to have, some of our participants come in, talk to us about, what they think reasonable rates are. By the end of the month of May, we establish and advertise. I think that's good, still aggressive.
Yeah, we'll work on an informative letter to try and generate some input.
All right, any other items on Hummel Creek? We're still waiting. We will hear from Joe Leone and get our direction on next steps on that. All right, we have Wendell Cades to Rome Golf. Wanted to ask some questions
They also have this.
on solar, so I saw Wendell. You're hiding from me now, Wendell.
No, quite a few of us were at the commissioners meeting the other morning, and then, but the thing that concerns us, is the fact that there's so many private mains. I'll say 10% of the tile mains are county tile. And so then that leaves about 90% of mains going across other people's property that we have never got easements for to control them. And if we go and put solar panels in, we can't have control of our outlet pipes or our watershed, surface watersheds, as that's what our concern is with these solar panels.
When it comes to these 90% that are private, and hopefully Jim can give us a little bit of information. Basically, it's always been private working agreements on these, right?
Yeah.
What would it take, or what would it do if we were to ask some of these major private tiles ask the owners to put them into our inventory and to receive them. What would that do?
Indiana code said they're supposed to be in good working order before we can adopt them and have a public hearing to make them a county drain. But it's gonna be a nightmare.
I said, not,
That's my
very
word
well
I think
put.
of on, and it's gonna take everybody that has drainage that knows what's there, coming to these meetings. Each one's gonna be unique and different. You know, they talked about putting the berms up around it. Well, there's a lot of surface flow in Grant County, and you can't put a berm up around and block up water on your neighbor, in my opinion. Mutual drains are supposed to be exempt from drainage code regulations, but we can also get involved if somebody intentionally blocks up one.
Right.
I think there's,
We're number 2 on the list, and it can't proceed on all the other approvals until the drainage board's satisfied with something, so it's gonna take input from the landowners around that area. And of course, we can look at old maps and see the tile scars that we can pick out on old photos. Kinda have an idea there, but we're not gonna know, only the farmers that
well, and
pay attention to it.
there's a lot of farmers that don't know where their mains go. And, I mean, you know, back then, an 8-inch main was pretty big,
Mhm.
and now we upgrade them every time we put them in. And, I just think there's an awful lot of 8-inch mains out there that are gonna get destroyed or won't be able to get to work on. And, I got a 12-inch that's crossing Metal Source that I'm very concerned about, and, it's a private. But I'm gonna need you guys' help on that one. And, you know, I think that's just, that's small compared to what this solar panel deal will get to. But I would like, you gentlemen's support for us farmers, if you would.
When it comes to, like Jim was saying, we, and Ryan's online as well, he can probably pipe in if he wants to, but we have a developing checklist that if everything isn't met, whether the current, proposed ordinance or a change to the ordinance happens, they can't get past us until all the criteria is met. The challenge that we're gonna have is we either have to incorporate those private lines into our inventory, or then the 90-some% that we're still questioning has to be covered under the economic development agreement that says you will, any private line, any mutual line that is cut has to be repaired and or with equal or greater than what it was before. So we can get it one of both ways, but we just have to write them whenever that happens, if it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, grade's the problem. They're on reroute, the old timers put them right where they needed to go to have the fall. Yeah, you can run them through more hills now, but I worry about that. They'll say, well, we'll just run this all around our place. And have to have the engineering to prove that that's gonna work before the board can make a vote on it.
But you can't argue too much with the old timers. Them boys are pretty smart, a lot smarter than we are. And, I don't know how they did it, GPS and stuff, but you don't argue with a tile you're tracing.
It goes
they put
straight,
in.
as straight as it can, right?
And they knew what they were doing, so I don't wanna argue with them.
Same way with the earthen berms, the way a lot of the county has surface flow water, I'll be opposed to the earthen berm going around their property if I know it's gonna block up water. A lot of them are gonna be unique, that surface flow's gotta travel through these places too. And they're gonna plant grass, but each one looks like, they don't have a gutter. Are they gonna cause little erosion rivets, and that's all gonna be running somewhere new and discharging somewhere new on the other line, so.
Well, and it's a very small scale, but it's, like I told Mr. Bardley the other day, you build a solar panel in his backyard and shut his leach field off, and then he has no way of getting to it to fix it. That's on a small scale, but it's the same thing as what us farmers are asking for. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We got a 75-foot easement on top, okay?
County tile.
Yeah.
Yeah, on county tile. But a lot of these are not, these ditches are not they're not parallel to a fence line or
No.
whatever they cut across, okay?
They're following the path of least resistance, and the swale or whatever, where they need to be.
So, I mean,
Yeah, when it comes to, like Wendell said, our 10%, where we know where the county tile and the easement is, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. 75 feet either side, so that's a 150-foot swatch that they cannot put solar arrays. It's that
Yeah,
simple. It's
I'm not
simple.
being in favor of putting any variance down to lower that 75 foot on either side.
No.
but I mean, you know, if that tile curves through swale, you know, they're gonna have to put their solar panels either
It's gonna
a lot wider.
mess up their plan.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's hope they check the property off and drainage first before they go sign any contracts.
well, that's part of the
Yeah.
procedure. They've got to walk it with you, or the surveyor, don't they? I thought that was one of the things we put in there.
Well, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think it's there. It has to be walked.
I think I need a gator.
We need a quad.
Doesn't say driven, it says walk. Can't drive.
We need the engineer's input, Pat.
Oh.
Can we get a
Can we-
quad now?
Yeah.
We've heard from Wendell. I think Jerome wanted to share with us as well.
I'm not sure I'll have much to add. You fellows have covered it pretty well. I do think this is potentially the most impactful to the agricultural community of anything that I've ever dealt with in my lifetime.
I agree.
Negatively impact. First gentleman I ever farmed for was born in 1876. And he passed away when I was 26 or 27, and he told me that at 1125 South, 100 West, when he was a kid, times during the year that you could swim a horse in that area. Now it's some of the best dirt out there. So that's how impactful this is. If we cut the drainage off, it's going to gradually go back to that situation. I guess the only other thing I've got to add, I called Indiana Farm Bureau, Mark Thornburg. He's General Counsel and Director of Legal Affairs for the Indiana Farm Bureau. And I posed the question to him, if my neighbor puts in a solar farm across my main, what recourse do I have? He said, well, after the fact, you've got very little.
After the fact.
Yes. And he said that after the fact, it'll be court litigation, and they said, you know, these utilities have got awful deep pockets. And those of us that have dealt with the railroad, the pipelines, that across the farm, telephone cables, which most have been done away with now. We've had first hand experience with that and know he's right. So I asked him what he suggests. And he said, well, the first thing I would suggest is get your Grant County Drainage Board and commissioners to get proactive in this and get strong. He did mention easements, he mentioned ordinances, which I think you've probably mentioned covered. And he also, I'll close with this, he also mentioned that state of Virginia was very early adopters of these solar panels. And he said there's a lot of buyer's remorse out there right now. Not only with drainage issues, but erosion issues. Which I hadn't really given that a lot of thought, but when you stop and think about it, we've got a few waterways farms east of us, and it's pretty hard to hold them.
Question, could the drainage board require like a mutual drainage easement across the solar panels property, you know, as part of the agreement? Even though it wouldn't be a county drain, it would still be a mutual tile, would be require an easement through that part.
I
That gives you,
I was always under the understanding that if you have a mutual drain or even any kind of private drain, if it's been in use, then you have a prescriptive easement, but that's not defined any particular way.
yeah,
But you have an easement.
you have a
that
right
can
to that
maintain.
drainage, I agree.
And the same would be applicable to a mutual drain, but if you don't know where it's at and somebody builds on top of it, then you're right, you're in court. So I don't know.
That's why we've got to, like you said, get it done before the fact instead of after the fact.
So, but that goes back to, well, you gotta know where they're at, or the property owners have to be able to identify those. So, and I don't know if a county ordinance can include a certain width or something, if that's.
We should talk with our attorney about that and explore that.
What do you guys think would be a good width from center line to tile each direction for right of access?
I'd go with the same as the county, or 75 feet each side.
That's what I was thinking.
If you get in some of these, where these tile was put in 1896 or whatever, and you got a swale like this, if you come in to put in a 24 or 30, you're gonna have, you can't go down that original bed, you're gonna have to get over to the side.
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
where you go 75 feet, if you go 75 feet from the center, you know as well as I do, you're gonna have to get over there, maybe 30. I can show you pictures of one that, I know they're gonna have to be, 30 foot out of the center. And,
Because some of them have 3 or 4 inches of water, 100 feet wide, flowing down through there. And
some of them got more than that.
when the ground's saturated, you got a large amount of surface flow.
And the bad part is, the tile's not straight. When they come in, they're gonna wanna build their solar panels straight, square, or whatever. So they're gonna have to leave a path. Either here's the ditch, and they follow the ditch on each side, or they come out here. And this end, they got 300 foot, and this end, they got 75.
75 minimum, that's right.
And all that water, even if you got grass, all that water dripping off can start making its own little channels that erode with soil loss and goes over to wherever the drain leaves.
And where most of these, they're wanting to go where the power, overhead power is. And if you get to looking, a lot of these, I'm not familiar with over around Fairmount and so forth, but over in our area,
They're not good
it's
locations.
right where we got main tile.
They're not good locations, are they, Ken?
No,
You need to go somewhere else.
and another bad part. These people contact somebody in, I keep using Atlanta, Georgia. Somebody lives in Atlanta, Georgia, okay? Because I know of one that's a similar situation. And they offered them this money, and it's good cash rent. And the way they found them was they went to the recorder's office and found out who pays the taxes. And that's where they send the notice to. They don't, the guy that's farming it up here, you don't ever know about it until you see something come in to start the project.
That can be true. Very few of the actual owners are strongly participating in what's going on locally. All right, anything else, Mr. Goff, that you want to prompt us to? We've already got a couple things we're going to have to start looking with the attorneys about.
I guess, finally, I'd just like to make a point, and I think everybody agrees here. We make a strong point about property rights, and those proponents of solar farms are pushing this pretty hard. I think we in the agricultural community have got some rights as well. And I think now's the time we got to stand up for them. Thank you. Appreciate talking to you.
Appreciate it. We're not in a hurry to move through what'll be the ordinance eventually. We're utilizing all of the time that is prescribed to us just for this reason, to listen to different items. We've already, even last week when it was presented to us, someone came up and said, you don't have any items in this particular ordinance on flight paths with regarding the airport. And so we're already going to have to look at the ordinance and add some areas. So we're taking our time. We're going to try and do this in a way that is beneficial. And some of these suggestions we will be running by our attorney very quickly. So appreciate it. We're going to move on to, is Mick in the room? Mick is here, all right, on the unthank. And just as Mick's coming up, I know lots of folks want to continue to discuss the solar ordinance. There may be times and opportunities, if you want to put yourself on the agenda for specific issues, we'd love to hear from you, but we're not, again, this is not an open public hearing on that issue, so we're just going to keep moving and get our items done today. So Mick, we're up on the unthank.
Okay, as you might or might not remember, last summer I came to the Drainage Board and applied for approval to extend the unthanked drain across County Road 100 North to an adjoining property owner. I was told that I would need to get a permit to cut the road for crossing 100 North. I went to the county highway garage, paid $75 for a permit. I got a phone call from the superintendent's secretary that said that it would have to be bored. My question was, who bears that expense? I haven't yet gotten an answer. That was last summer. I looked back at my tax records. I paid for that permit on August the 5th.
Isn't that the one they put in there?
Yeah, and I don't think you should have paid for the permit. I think the permit maybe should have come out of the drainage fund. That tile goes under 100 and swings on around to that fence line that you share with an adjoining landowner. So that's a county tile. It's bad under there. It's underneath the surface pipe. In my opinion, the cost should be bared by the county highway department.
Wasn't that the one that they paved the road or something?
Right, and the road's been paved for a couple years.
Yeah,
Yes.
White didn't want to cut the road.
He wanted it bored instead of cut. That's what.
Well, it drains his road right away.
Yeah.
And it's a shame he's not here, and he might disagree, but I think the Indiana code says if you relocate, we could pay half out of maintenance and they pay half, but we'd only relocate because it's underneath the surface pipe. If the surface pipe wasn't there, it'd go right where it was and they would bear all the costs by Indiana code. I mean, that can be researched, what I just said. It's all in the Indiana code.
Help me, Mick.
On utilities paying for stuff.
I'm trying to remember a conversation I had with David recently. Is it Chad? Is
He's the tenant.
He's working it?
Yes.
I know that they have had a conversation, but I don't remember what that conversation was.
Chad hadn't talked to him about that situation. I just talked to Chad, yesterday, and he hasn't had a conversation with Mr. White on that situation.
Okay,
Gets quite expensive to bore, you know.
That's what I know.
Before we've been up the road and fix it, but bore makes your cost.
and this is a legal drain, right?
Right.
Assessed,
Mhm.
so,
We've got private drains too that we've been able to cut, and if they're gonna change, that's gonna make it more expensive.
And you know, where the county tile stops, Mr. Roush is wanting to make sure that there's private tiles that enter there, and he wants to make sure that they're able to drain too, and build a structure that'll also handle some surface water to get in it. But it's undersized like a lot of county drains is the reason he's working to get this fixed. But we can't start boring all our county tiles with the taxpayers' funds when I think if they require that cost should be on them.
The reason I came to you last summer, I was in hopes that we would get the ball to rolling, and after crops was harvested last fall through the winter months, that project would be completed. But here we are, end of April, 6 months later, and still nothing done.
Because you can't get an answer.
That's right.
yeah, I've just started another email, so is there a time where we can sit down with you and Chad and David and walk through that?
Let me know.
You mind giving us your phone number in front of everybody? Is that okay?
517-1564.
157-1564.
We'll call you late at night.
I won't answer.
If it doesn't come up, it's in your contact list, don't answer. That's the way I do it.
That's the way I do it.
We will have a sit down as quick as possible with you guys and try and get this done, because I know it's been a burr under your saddle for a while, Mick.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, and Gordon, you wanted to talk about the chaining ordinance?
Well, yeah, I keep finding, I went to the county highway department, and got the permit, you know, sheet. And it says on the cover letter, to whom it may concern, and please note your drawing to the exact location that the project is bored, plowed, open trench. And I thought we were open trench ever farm, you know, roadside. Well, apparently it's not. You can do whatever. I thought the ordinance was said that we open trench.
I've got a copy of that, and I can't put my finger on exactly which portion that is. If we have a deficiency in the ordinance, we need to tweak it so that it says what we wanted it to.
Well, I don't know, but that's the reason we've been finding that one to plow them in. And I thought the ordinance said we'll trench it that way. If they hit anything, they'll know and can fix it.
When we talked about it at the meeting, we was for the trenching deal,
None of the
not the plow.
plow or anything.
Okay.
And the bore, well, he wants there, I think it says in, if they can't bore a county road, can't cut it. Well, there may be a tile under that county road that they don't know. I know there was one out 800 south, right?
800 south, 300 west.
Yeah, they bored it, I don't know how long it took to get it fixed, but
It took quite a while because Mr. White didn't want to tear the road up.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what have you been able to look at this? I know we just got it today, Gordon.
I have not been able to look at it, just got it today.
What we need to do is, we need to make sure that this 2017 ordinance actually says what we want to do. If we have anything we have to tweak, we just need to make an amendment and get it through us to get it to the commissioners so that they can adopt it. That's all we have to do.
was talking to Mike earlier today on this, he doesn't understand what chaining was. Right?
Yeah, yeah, he asked that question.
At one point, we talked about that being the preferred method.
Yeah. That way, if they hit the tile, they'll know that.
Yeah,
They should.
Well, should, yeah.
if they're paying attention.
And if they see the bats.
Yeah.
You know, when you plow in, you don't know when you run the tile. And I thought that was the whole deal with open trench,
Mhm.
so they pay attention and they fix them when they hit them.
Okay, what I think we need to recommend is we need to, Jim read through this, we all read through this since we have a copy, and make sure it says what we want it to say. If it doesn't, then we need to highlight it, and we need to bring it back at our next meeting and say, this is what it needs to be. We vote on it, send it to the commissioners for their adoption.
Okay.
It seems like, I thought we first started working on this when we were dealing with the wind turbine issue, and it's actually, it was fiber optic stuff that was going on that we needed to work through this. So I think that was what it was, wasn't it, window? That's when you brought us what Howard County had been doing? Yeah.
Is Howard County making changes in all that?
I think so, but I'm not positive on it, but I think that's all changed. Everywhere we've been involved, it's been changed.
That's what I was kind of remembering, is that Howard County made them chain everything in. So we'll work on this, make sure it covers what we need, and get it tweaked to get it right. Okay?
Well, no, Madison County, because they went down 200 west a few years ago, and they got to Madison County, they chained it in. They plowed it in, they got through mine and a couple of others that I knew, and we didn't even know they were there till I got there too late. Well, we've already bored the road and do it. I said, well, what the time? Well, we don't know about the time. They never notify anybody. They just sneak in there and they got it in before you know it.
A lot of the subcontractors.
Yes.
But even the subcontractors, is it the owner or the subcontractor that has to come get the permit from highway? Do we know?
Well, the owner, I think, not the utility. Utility comes to shoot.
Utility does.
But they don't notify the farmers.
Okay. And I thought we had that in here too, that there had to be some type of,
Yeah, the landowner's supposed to be notified, it's in there.
okay.
But the problem is here again,
That, yeah,
they come up here and get the recorder's office, get where the taxes go, and that's the ones they notify, and it's not the farmer that's farming the field, you know?
The other thing, I'm just kind of scanning real quick. Did we put in a fine?
I think it was $1,000.
Section 6.
Yeah, B, not less, oh no, that's not really true.
We don't define what the fine is. We need to define the fine.
It's set under County Ordinance 1099.
We'll have to take a look at that. Okay. So it looks like we've got a couple things. We spell it out better, maybe people will go, oh, we need to watch that. All right, anything else? We'll work on that. Make sure, Mary, if you make sure we keep rolling that under a whole business until we get a resolution to it, okay? And we were gonna, other business, we had talked about minutes. Oh. Mr. Pinkerton wants to make a motion about everybody getting copies of the minutes.
Well, I don't know if you're not at the meeting, do you not get a copy of the minutes?
No, I send it to everybody, that way you know what's going on if you're not there.
Well, if that's the case, I
You
just
got
didn't
missed.
get them. Yeah.
Last email on April 20th, he wasn't on the list.
I'm
Where
sorry.
you send them to?
I guess I missed
yeah,
that.
I get them, I read them online.
We're not trying to say anything, Pat. It is,
You're a troublemaker, we don't wanna get you in a minute.
Don't let me know what's going on.
Give her your other email address.
No?
All right, we have gotten through old business. We do need to get to new business in Cart Creek. Jim, where do we need to go here?
Wendell wants to speak on Cart Creek, but we also have a problem with the business that makes the racing fuel right across from the ethanol plant. There's a power pole right on the tile, and I think Mitch Cook had tried to bypass it at one time, but it's almost right on their fence. I would kind of like to investigate it. I talked to Matt Stover, that is in charge of the place, and I would like to get an estimate to bring that tile out. I've got a circle. The red dot is the inlet, and then the two circles are the power poles that we know exist where the fence is, and I don't know for sure how close or how many feet we'd need to bring it out. Maybe Wendell would know more about how close that is to that fence.
And what, this is on Cart Creek or another?
No, this is on Cart
This is
Creek.
the
There's
Cart Creek.
$28,180 in the fund.
Just on the north side of 18.
Jay Berry, I think, is.
Yeah, they-
got this deal.
Yeah, he came in, him and this, Matt Stover, they came into the office and they've got the concern. You know, it needs to be brought out away from their fence because you can't work on it. We don't want to really tear their property line fence down. And the power poles is, there's a hole there that's got the,
I think this is Holloway ground.
right next to
To
them.
the east?
Yeah. Is that Holloway to the east of,
Do what now?
there where lightning fuel is over there?
Yes.
Is that Holloway ground?
No, I think it's Manuel.
Yeah, it wasn't Holloway. I looked the name up and it wasn't. the name
Holloway
I was-
Farm just north of it.
I wasn't familiar with the name of that landowner.
That's Bobby King,
Who?
Bobby King,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
Manuel's rent that off of.
Sweetser Bank, Bob King.
Is that, where those, on the north side, is that in the NDOT right of way as well?
Just
Where
out.
it ends is where the last manhole is.
Okay.
Right. The red circle is the inlet on the south side, it's in the right of way. And the first power pole's probably in the highway right of way that, is right up against it.
Okay.
Don't this come over and drain that,
It used to go clear through CIE, and then it used to go underneath that switch yard and go south of switch yard.
yeah, but don't it drain a little pit or something there at CIE now?
It still could, because there's a riser right there on that side of the road.
Their retention pond.
There's also
That
electrical
retention
tower,
pond goes to another tile, a new tile they put in.
but it drains the side ditch along there. It goes to that riser. There's a utility tower also that, I just don't know what the footage is or until you investigate it.
That hugs that fence, well, there's not much fence left there, but it hugs that fence probably for 2,000 feet going north.
Okay.
Hugs that woods, which they just replaced it along that woods.
And we shaved the
Last year.
woods, we shaved that woods back.
Yeah.
You know, because of that. I told them that.
So we
Because
need
they had a
to,
drainage problem a couple of years ago where water was standing, and I think by getting the tile fixed back there, it's helped.
so we need to give Jim authorization to start an investigation, is that what we're asking for?
Yeah. What's your
I think we
opinion?
can cons-
You don't have no
consent by
drainage
consent.
issue in this area, right?
No, but I mean, the tile's no good. It's right in that area you're talking about, it's 15-inch clay. And that's 9,000, 10,000 feet from the outlet. It all goes north.
Do you think it should be replaced from the catch basin at the highway and then proceed north with new? versus putting a Band-Aid in between.
That's what we're doing, we're putting Band-Aids.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a tough situation right now. I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but a third or better of the land is owned by a 107-year-old lady. And until something happens there, it has to be at a standstill.
Well, that's what, I remembered Mitch Cook putting plastic and kind of getting around one of the power poles, but I don't know which one it was. There's two there.
I think there's just two of them up there in there.
Right.
Right there, yeah.
Well, no,
Maybe for right now, we could just move it out enough to get it around those two so the poles don't fall in or separated, and then bring it back into the fence line
Yeah.
for right now until they need a major reconstruction of this thing.
But we are talking, that's the south end, that's where the water's received and it moves north, right?
Right.
So even if we started on the far south end and we started fixing it with the regular tile, I mean, we're headed in the right direction, aren't we?
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything under 18 right now. I just Band-Aid this on the north side.
Downstream,
Well, now-
it's still gonna have problems, but at the very end, you're at least starting.
now he's here on the, well, no, on the east end of CIE grain bin.
Okay.
Water stands between there and down there at I&M.
Right.
Where would that water, would there be grade, get that water into this pile here?
And I don't know, I've never shot a grade like that. I've never shot a grade that direction.
I think it's possible.
Well, yes, it did at one time. And,
They was wanting to drain that east of those bins.
right. But
And I&M's got their own,
Ducks have been living there about as long as I can remember.
do you know where,
In that area.
you know when Omni was in there? Okay, Omni put a 24-inch crossing in there. There used to be a Cart Creek come up to 18, right where you're talking about, that building and the two risers. And then it was an open ditch that went to the railroad. And then the open ditch turned and went towards the I&M towers. And railroad came in and put a 24-inch driveway in there and laid it on top of the silt rather than putting it down in the bottom of the creek. And then Lendell Burger, you remember that name, but he went in there to cause static, and railroad made us get off the ground, their property. And so then he talked to I&M in Fort Wayne, and they wasn't worried about the water situation at that time. And so that pipe never got removed, and that water has never got fixed.
But the open ditch running north and south was a county easement
Yes,
ditch, but that one going east and west was
it's not.
Right.
And then it was a tile underneath the railroad going south, and Lendell's ground on the south side of the railroad went north at that time.
And electric, they just keep bringing in gravel and raising their substation.
Yeah,
Gravel.
yeah, yeah.
That was their answer.
This, give this more. That red line is Cart Creek.
But I looked at your pictures this morning and, I'm in favor of doing whatever we can to help that thing out.
Well, I'm not gonna guarantee you that's gonna help, but that is, 3,000, where I wanna put that manhole is 3,000 feet from the creek. And, So that is, what I came in to ask for is I'd like to replace 150 feet of 24-inch on the south side of 250 North. And there's a high-pressure gas line there. It's an 8-inch, 1,200-pound gas line. And it sits almost on top of that 24. And so I'd like to replace it underneath of that gas line up to 250. And that'd take 150, 180 feet. And then at 250, I was wanting to put a 5-foot riser pipe in that would have 4 24-inch pipes crisscrossing. So we got to put a new Holloway's want to put a 12-inch tile going east, and I would like to put a 18-inch tile in there to get underneath the gas line on the east side of this. So to replace everything underneath that gas line, which Holloway's Nest would have to pay for the tile going east. But this cross, I guess what I'm asking, this cross is a $3,000 item. And so I guess I'm asking, is that Holloway and I's problem, or is that part of the county tile? Or the reason for the cross?
It's like a manhole that you're gonna put on
Right.
the county tile.
Right.
Well, it can be done with the maintenance.
Or junction box.
Yeah, the junction box.
Be
But
part
it,
of our inventory, yeah.
the west side of the junction box, we're going ahead and putting a 24-inch on the west side, just so that we got a game plan of putting a 36-inch in. And so when we cross 250, then we'll hook that 24 that we'll have blanked off, hook it into the new 36 to, because when you're putting in that big of a main, you got to be able to hook the old one up every once in a while to the new, so you don't block any of your drainage.
But your junction box is gonna go right on the existing county
Yes.
tile and help everything.
Yes. It's not a cure.
Right, until you get the new 36 in.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
But, you know, he was talking about fiber optic people. Sweetser Telephone just put a bunch of fiber optic in out there all last fall. And that company was extremely easy to work for. Cause we shot the grade of this new 36, and we've got a fiber optic 4 feet below our grade where we wanna put the 36. So, I mean, they were very cooperative.
Good.
So,
But they were working with somebody that knew what they were doing.
well, they was very cooperative. I mean, this crew that's working in our area right now is not that way. But that's what I'm here to ask for is basically the whole project is going to take about $8,000. Might be able to do it less, but that's what I'm asking for. And I really wanted to make sure that junction block could be put on the county, paid for with the county money.
We've got 28,000 in the account, and he's recommending, no more than 8,000. Should we put a
Is
ceiling?
labor in that?
Pardon?
Labor in that?
Is what?
Is there labor in that?
Yes.
You sure eight's gonna be enough?
I'll tell you when I get done, but I'm planning on it.
Well,
If we say yes, we're gonna give you that cash.
Yeah, that's good.
what we're
I'm
gonna.
I'm good. I'll pay the rest. That's all thank you.
What do you wanna do about this, gentlemen?
Let's say we go up to 9,000. That gives us a little work room. Cause we haven't got this refracto yet.
I would like you to tie in the fact that he's putting in this junction or this cross into the motion, recognizing that,
Give him 9,000, put it in this junction box. On Carter Creek.
we have a motion. Is there support for that?
I'll second.
Have a second, now we can discuss it. What shall we discuss?
Discussed it all.
You're discussing it then.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, we have a motion with support
Up to,
up to $9,000, noting that part of that cost is the junction box, that cross that will be at our current
Well, that,
location.
I got a question. Will that collect surface water too, or will it have solid
Yes.
lid?
But it won't impress you when we put it in, because I'm gonna build it high until we get everything settled back down.
Uh-huh.
And then I wanna cut it off to where it, takes in surface water
So,
to try to keep it from going on north.
yeah, 'cause I knew
Well,
the
then the
surface
road
water,
awful back on
I
north,
know in heavy rain it flows
yeah.
across the surface, so.
All right. Motion with support, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's carried unanimously. All right, other business, Jim. We have just about gone an hour, and our next meeting is scheduled for, I want to say May 12th, is that right? Somebody help me out, is that right?
10th.
10th, okay. Next meeting is May 10th, and we will be anticipating a report from the attorney, reference these questions that were proposed, as well as were we gonna try and bring that group in from the Home Creek ditch next time or not?
Busy farm season, busy farm period time.
Yeah.
Wait till the end of the month, try and get them in
Yeah,
the second
that'd be
meeting?
better, the
Okay.
next meeting in May.
All right,
And at least I'll ask for them to give us a written response if they can't attend.
all right. All right, I think that covers us.
make a motion to adjourn.
Motion,
Before you close.
not a public meeting, but you can talk to us right after. How's that? Motion, Mr. Cates, second, Mr. Pinkerton. All those in favor would say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Come on up.